Hello everybody, Nobody here. Today I would like to share with you a strategy guide on the Mayans. In this strategy guide, we will discuss how to play the Mayans in competitive multiplayer. We will go age by age, analyzing the various strategies the Mayans have available to them, point out the strengths and weaknesses in these strategies, and assign grades to compare their strengths at various stages of the game to other civilizations. We will focus on open map 1 vs 1, and later touch on specialty maps and team games. Let's get started! The Mayans overall are a fairly one-dimensional civilization and rely on the strength of their economy and archers. The Mayans begin the game with an extra villager and must research loom to start the game. Not only does this ensure the safety of their villagers early on, it also grants the Mayans a one villager lead once their opponent researches loom. Additionally, the Mayans' resources last longer, which supplies more sheep and more hunt food at the start of the game and boosts the Mayans' economy throughout the game. The Mayans' military mainly relies on archers due to their reduced cost and strong unique unit, the Plummed archer. The Plummed archer is a fast, high hit points archer which is competent at countering opposing archers, infantry, and knights with sufficient micromanagement. Mayan eagles are also among the strongest in the game, with the Mayan unique tech El Dorado granting plus 40 HP per eagle. They serve as a counter to skirmishers and a reliable raider. Although the Mayans' eagles are strong, they don't completely replace the use of cavalry, which the Mayans lack. Now that we are more familiar with the basics of the Mayans, let's go more into depth and try to understand the common strategic options favored by the pros. Let's begin by discussing opening strategies in 1 vs 1 on Arabia, a common open map. There are three main opening strategies for the Mayans: the Dark Age Rush Feudal Rush, abbreviated Drush Flush, the Dark Age Rush Fast Castle Crossbow Rush, abbreviated Drush FC Expo, and the Dark Age Rush Fast Castle Plumed Archer Rush, abbreviated Drush FC Plume. Knowing which strategy to choose may cause a bit of confusion for the casual player, so let's take a look at some of the strengths and weaknesses of each strategy. As you may have noticed, each of these three strategies involves the Dark Age Rush. The Dark Age Rush, abbreviated Drush, is a common strategy in Age of Empires 2, particularly among archer civilizations. It involves building an early barracks, mining 10 gold, and building 3 militia to try and harass the opponent's villagers. This slows the opponent down by idling their villagers and allows the aggressor to collect more resources before clicking to Feudal Age for archer ranges or a fast castle age. It also secures early access to critical resources such as gold. If anyone is unfamiliar with the Drush, there is a link to a coaching session involving the strategy below in the description. If planning on going for a Drush Flush, the most aggressive of the three opening strategies, the Mayans player should try to click up to Feudal Age as soon as possible by heavily saturating sheep, and not making too many farms since the wood will be needed for future archery ranges. Once in the Feudal Age, the Mayans player should build 2 ranges and begin archer production. The goal of an archer rush is to kill the opponent's villagers, limit the opponent's access to resources, and to defend your own villagers and resources. Since the Mayans' archers are cheaper than other civilizations, they may gain an advantage over other civilizations when going for the strategy and have a strong Feudal Age. However, there are 2 weaknesses to the Mayans' Feudal Rush. Since the Mayans lack scout cavalry, they may be vulnerable to scout raiding early on if their golds are exposed, and their archers may be vulnerable to fully upgraded scouts. Due to their lack of scouts, the Mayans also do not have a sufficient counter to opposing skirmishers. The second opening strategy available to the Mayans is the Fast Castle into Crossbows. This strategy is less aggressive than the Feudal Rush, but can pack a punch if the Mayans player is able to successfully wall their map and defend during the lengthy Dark Age. A player performing this strategy should seed many farms around their town center during Dark Age, buy enough time with their Drush to wall, and click up to the Feudal Age with at least 28 villagers. Luckily, the Mayans team bonus helps reduce the walling costs. Once up to the Castle Age, crossbow and bodkin arrows should be researched, allowing the player to raid more effectively and dominate opposing feudal army. Additionally, Mayans archers will be further discounted during the Castle Age. Despite the advantages of the fast castle crossbow strategy, If the opponent applies pressure to the Mayans player, they may not have enough resources to click up to Castle Age, or may be behind an army, or lose control of access to critical resources. The last opening strategy available to the Mayans is the Drush fast castle into Plummed archers. This strategy involves even more risk and investment than the fast castle crossbow strategy, but results in a stronger Castle Age unit than the crossbow and more adept raider. Players performing the fast castle Plummed archer strategy should see plenty of farms in the Dark Age, send a few villagers to mine stone, and build a market and blacksmith in Feudal Age to advance to the Castle Age. This strategy shares the same weaknesses as the fast castle crossbow strategy, and Mayans players should make sure their base is safe and well defended during the lengthy Dark Age. This is the least common strategy in 1 vs 1, however, as we will see later, it is the standard strategy for a Mayans pocket in team games. To recap, the Mayans have 3 opening strategies that vary on risk-reward depending on how safe or wallable their resources are and how easy it would be for their opponent to pressure them. Luckily, Castle Age is more straightforward. Mayans players should continue to raid and defend with their archers and should build their economies from 3 town centers. Despite a strong economy and cheap military, the Mayans may still have trouble against skirmishers and mangonels due to a lack of cavalry. As a response to these 2 units, Mayans players should build mangonels of their own and may even add a few eagles to deal with opposing mangonels. As the Mayans player readies to click to the Imperial Age, they should prepare a transition to plumes or eagles. Eagles are most effective when the opponent is vulnerable to eagle raids, has invested heavily into elite skirmisher, or the Mayans player has not taken enough stone for a Plummed archer transition. A transition to Plummed archers is more common, however, since the Plummed archer is such a strong unique unit. Mayans players transitioning into Plummed archers should take plenty of stone in the Castle Age and place castles in key defensive positions. Either army composition should employ the use of many siege rams. Siege rams are so important, in Mayans Wars it is often the player with the most rams, not plumes, that wins. The strength of the Mayans late game is that their army composition is both cheap and effective versus a variety of units. Their main army are competent raiders, and siege rams may bulldoze opposing defenses. That said, the Mayans' late-game army is not nearly as strong as many other civilizations. The Mayans may struggle against heavy cavalry or siege if the game goes late enough. However, these units are less likely to be seen in 1 vs 1 due to limited gold availability. Another potential weakness of the Mayans is since they rely heavily on their castles, they will be vulnerable if their castles are destroyed. Although the Mayans have few true counters in 1 vs 1, some civilizations to consider would be the Aztecs, Celts, Goths, Huns, and Malians. On a scale of A to C for 1 vs 1, A being exceptional and C being below average, for early game I give the Mayans an A- for a strong economy and feudal rush. For mid game, I give the Mayans a B, and for a late game army that is cheap and powerful under limited gold conditions, I give an A- for late game. Overall, this leaves the Mayans with an exceptional A rating in 1 vs 1. Now let's switch gears and talk about the Mayans on 3 specialty maps which are common enough to warrant a separate rating. Arena is the first of these maps. It is hard to talk about Arena without talking about monks. Unfortunately, the Mayans do not get redemption or illumination, so siege monk rushes will be less viable for the Mayans than for other civilizations. Luckily, the best way to counter a siege monk rush is a castle, and you can guarantee that Mayans players wouldn't mind to build a few. The most common strategy among Mayans players is a simple 3-town center boom and a transition to plumes or eagles and rams. One of the more interesting strategies for the Mayans is what I like to call the Eddie strategy, after the Arena legend and Masters of Arena 4 champion Eddie. This strategy involves a fast castle into an early castle and plumed archers, followed by a 1-town center fast Imperial into a forward castle and trebs. Other than being a great way to impress your friends with your Age of Empires 2 knowledge, this strategy is extremely effective since trebs may be guarded under the castle and level the opponent's base as they are trapped against the edge of the map. If trying to defend from this rush, it is important to go up to the Imperial Age as fast as possible to build trebs from a defensive castle. Due to their strong 1 vs 1 qualities, a viable monk rush defense, and a unique strategy, I give the Mayans an A on Arena. The second specialty map we will talk about is the late game map Black Forest, which highlights some of the weaknesses of the Mayans' late game army. Although the Mayans' army is very cost efficient, it is not particularly population efficient and can get outmuscled by heavy cavalry or siege. Paladins may beat Mayans' eagles and halbs one-on-one, and siege onagers may annihilate large groups of plumed archers if the Mayan player isn't careful. The Mayan siege is also substandard, lacking siege onager, bombard cannon, and siege engineers. Due to their weak late-game army, I give the Mayans a C+ on late-game favored maps such as Black Forest. The last specialty map we will talk about are water maps. On water maps, the Mayans boast a powerful early-game economy that can potentially get them up to the next age faster. This is often a deciding factor in water wars. Looking at the Mayans' tech tree, the Mayans have access to all necessary technologies including bracer and shipwright, and heavy demolition ship and fast fire ship for Rise of Rajas. They do not, however, get access to cannon galleon, although siege ram helps in this situation. A landing is also not completely out of the question due to their cheaper archers and the availability of the transport ship in Rise of Rajas in the Dark Age. Due to a strong early game economy and early galley rush, and access to critical technologies later in the game, I award the Mayans with an A- on water maps. As an honorable mention specialty map, the Mayans are also considered a top 3 civilization on Nomad due to their strong early game economy. Now that we have analyzed the Mayans in most common 1 vs 1 settings, let's finish up by analyzing the Mayans in large team games. As flanks in team games, or edges, the Mayans are expected to either go for a Drush Flush or Drush Fast Castle Crossbow strategy depending on the defendability of their maps. They later transition into the standard Mayans Imperial army. Mayans Pockets, on the other hand, are expected to fast castle into plumed archers without a Drush and support their flanks against opposing pocket knights and raid opposing bases. If the Mayans Pocket is paired with a strong cavalry flank, the flank is encouraged to wall themselves and produce knights, while the pocket produces archers, a switch from standard flank pocket play. As a specialty strategy on maps where center control is especially important, or players are particularly close to each other, Mayans player allies may tribute resources or sling the Mayans players so they may fast Imperial into plumed archers and trebuchets to quickly eliminate the opposing players. This strategy is so powerful, it has helped to encourage a nerf on tributing resources in pro tournaments and in Rise of Rajas. For the last set of grades, the Mayans are one of the strongest flanks in all of Age of Empires, and as a result, I give them an outstanding A+ for flank play in team games. On the other hand, the Mayans pocket play suffers due to a lack of knights, although partially replaced by the strong and agile plumed archer. As a result, I give the Mayans Pocket an average B rating. That leaves the Mayans with an overall grade of an A- in team games. Well, that's going to be all for this video. I hope this guide was useful for trying to understand one of the most predictable and strong civilizations in the game. If you would like to learn more about the Mayans in a real game, please click this link for pro game casting, coaching, and game analysis involving the civilization. Please like and subscribe to support future content, and I will see you in the next video.